A Karen comes into the restaurant screeching that she knows the owner and we need to give her and her group of friends the VIP table that's reserved for celebrities. But the thing is, I own the restaurant, and I have no idea who this lady is, but I pretended to play along to see what would happen. During the course of the dinner, one of the girls asked me if she thought my life was worthless because I'm a waiter. That's when I decided all bets were off, and I was getting my revenge. Here's what I did. Subscribe to AmITheA on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. This all happened around Christmas and New Year's. My grandparents immigrated to Canada from Italy in the 70s and opened up a restaurant. When they passed away, the restaurant went to my parents, and over the decades, they grew and expanded it. I've been working at the restaurant since I was 15. Over time, my parents got older and eventually retired, becoming snowbirds going to Florida for the winters. They left the restaurant to me a few years ago but still retained a small % ownership as an additional revenue stream, along with their savings. As soon as I gained control, I pretty much modernized the old place. I remodeled the restaurant, changed the logo, reached out to the local and national papers to put out ads, invited food critics, bloggers, vloggers, etc. It was very slow at first, and I began to worry that the loan that I took out to do all of this was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life, and I ruined 3 generations of family businesses. But eventually, it began to work, and a local semi-famous YouTuber featured us in one of his videos. That was the catalyst for more people to come and review, and eventually, we were seeing 5 to 10 times the business we usually get, even if it's a Monday. We became a hotspot for major events, and it wasn't uncommon for a celebrity to come on those nights. I even arranged for special high-profile clients to visit and cook for our guests. This cost a fortune. So, during the holidays, we were beyond packed. It got to the point where people would have to make reservations in July to get a table in December. This process took years to get to the point where it is now. When it gets busy, don't just sit in the back office. I'm on the floor, doing whatever needed to be done, even if that means I greet people, bus tables, or even mop the floors. Other nights when we have high-profile guests or events, I'm in a blazer and I'm acting in charge. Though on one night, a group of 6 women walk in. 5 of them look like they were still in their early 20s, and the head of the group looked like she was in her mid-20s. My best theory was that she was one of the other 4 girls' older sister or possibly an older sorority sister to an incoming college freshman. Maybe. I was greeting them at the door, and as they were walking up, Queen Bee Karen was telling the baby Karens on how this place is awesome, food is amazing, and there might even be celebrities here. When she came up to me, she told me that she needed a table for 6. I replied, of course. Can I please get the name on the reservation? She looked at me and said, oh, I didn't make one, but it's okay. The owner is a personal friend of mine. He said he always has 1 or 2 tables that he keeps open for special guests, and we can have one of those tonight. Now, generally, this is true of many high-profile restaurants, and lately, I have been doing that as well. But I had no clue who this woman was, and she definitely never spoke to me about any of this. I did get that she was trying to get in without a reservation, but she literally picked the worst person she could possibly try and do this with. I told her I am sorry, but we cannot seat anyone without a reservation. As you can see, we do not have any seats available. I didn't want to go all out and say I'm the owner and we have never spoken before, so I never promised you a thing. But I didn't want to embarrass her in front of the other girl she was with at first. She then went on and said out loud to one of the other girls to take a picture of me. She will speak to the owner and make sure that I'm either cleaning the toilet or fired by the end of the week. The other girls following her were like, yeah, kiss your minimum wage job goodbye. I'm not sure if they were in on it with her, or they honestly thought that she did know the owner. Queen Bee Karen then went on and said, look, you can either give us a table, or I can make your life very difficult. She kept pointing, just trying to put me down, and then saying things like, obviously, you aren't anyone here, because if you were, you would know who I am and never even try to tell me anything other than yes or of course. She was constantly trying to belittle me and get that table. At this point, it was a long day for me, and the way that I saw it, I had 3 options. Number 1, I tell her that I'm the owner and just call her out on all of this. Number 2, I just give her the table and let it be. Or number 3, I teach the Queen Bee Karen and her little minions a lesson. I chose option 3. I smiled at her, said, of course, follow me, please. I gave her one of the 3 tables we keep open in case a celebrity comes. It happens from time to time. I told her I apologize for everything, and she is right. It would be simpler just to give her the table. I also told her that the first 3 rounds of drinks will be complimentary. I sat them down and personally served them. As they were sitting down, I told them we do need one of your credit cards and IDs just to keep on file, and we'll give it back to you before you leave. Queen Karen gave me her cards and told the baby Karens that tonight was on her. I took their orders and got them their free drinks and told them due to how busy we are tonight, there may be a delay on the food. All that the girls were thinking of and cared about were the free rounds of drinks. They ordered the 3 rounds and still had no food. They eventually called me and asked me to check on it. The whole time, giving me the world's most nasty attitude since before they ordered. I told them I will check on it but also asked if they would like any more drinks. They ordered 2 more rounds. By the time the appetizers arrived, at this point, they were sloshed, having done nothing but drink on an empty stomach most of the night and only having had salads. After as more food arrives, more drinks are ordered. What these girls never realized was that they were at our VIP table, which alone cost a few thousand just to sit in. But I didn't charge them for that. What I did charge them for was all of these super expensive cocktails they had throughout the whole night, except for the first 3 rounds. In addition, the table they were sitting in, as mentioned, was VIP. So the menus were different than the normal ones. These menus don't say the prices on them. It's a trade secret in the restaurant business. And in addition, it had certain higher-end menu options, such as white truffle, black caviar dishes, and specifically imported West Coast oysters, among other things. As a side note, I didn't lose much overhead on the table and the 3 rounds, as you might think. The table was originally supposed to be empty, so I didn't lose anything since I didn't expect to gain anything to begin with. With the overhead for the food and other drinks more than the loss of the 3 first rounds. So, now that you know everything, was I the fool? Probably the most shocking thing about what the Karens in this situation beyond the money, beyond trying to power her way into getting a table, beyond trying not to pay the bill, was the insight into the way that they see the world. By saying the single comment about the worthlessness of the OP, the original poster here, the original poster seems like he was going to take his foot off the gas on his entire revenge plan, but then one of the baby Karens asked him if he felt like his life was worthless since all he ever became was a waiter. That has got to be one of the most deranged, entitled perspectives we've ever seen on this channel before. It might not be as action-packed and crazy as some of the other stuff that we've seen, but the fact that that's how she sees the world is just sick. There is nothing at all that is lower in any sense of the word for having any type of job that maybe doesn't pay as much as the jobs of the people that she knows in her life. This comes up all the time in certain jobs like janitors and stuff. I can't stand when people non-jokingly think that they're superior because they're not a janitor themselves. There's nothing wrong with being a janitor. I can't understand that perspective, but in this case, not only does she feel that way, but she wants to ridicule him for doing a tiring job of being a waiter, or at least that's what she thinks he's doing in this case. And one more thing too, I'm glad that this had sort of a satisfying ending where the dad tries to come in and get this whole thing reversed, then ends up leaving being more pissed off at the daughter than the restaurant owner. The only part that kind of creeped me out about this is the fact that he's surveilling the people that sit at this table. I would probably not go to a restaurant that I knew was recording my audio. Anyway, I'm happy it worked out for the OP. But let me know how you would have handled the situation if this was your restaurant and these were your customers. And let me know, fool or not a fool, and why. Story 2. Am I the fool for making our guests participate in our puppet-themed wedding? I'm a 27-year-old male, and my fiancé is a 26-year-old female. We met at college in our school's performing arts program and met in a puppetry class. In the class, we designed our own puppets, mine named Hat Boy, and my fiancé's, Daisy. We fell in love, and in a way, we've considered Hat Boy and Daisy in love as well. Years after graduating, we still use Hat Boy and Daisy both at home and at our local but fairly prominent theatre, where we perform puppet shows with high-end Muppet-style puppets. While planning our wedding, we realized we wanted Hat Boy and Daisy to be part of the ceremony. They've been part of us since the beginning, and it just felt right. We also invited our entire troupe of puppeteers from the theatre and got the idea that we should have our wedding completely officiated by puppets, and that our wedding parties would be made up of puppets and our closest puppeteer friends. We figure it'll make for incredible pictures. Here's where we aren't sure if we're the fools or not, We are insisting that all of our guests also participate and use puppets in lieu of gifts. We've asked everyone to purchase high-quality but not necessarily professional puppets to use during our wedding. We directed them to several vendors, some of whom offer really cool options. Everyone realistically could expect to spend between $150 to $500, depending on what sort of details and whatnot they wanted. We also want everyone to wear their puppets during the entire wedding and reception. All puppets we're suggesting can be mounted on and controlled with one hand. The puppets are meant to be guests at the wedding in the same way that all of our human guests are as well. We also made sure that all the food is finger foods. There will be plenty of cocktail tables so people can put down their drinks. We even made sure that all of the food for the dinner itself is portioned so that it can be eaten in bite sizes with just a fork without having to use a knife. We really think this would make for a special day. We only get to do it once and think that it'll be an event all of our guests will remember for a lifetime. We have a hard time believing that once there, they wouldn't have a blast. So, we the fools for making what we think is a silly but harmless and reasonable request for our one special day. This is one of those ones where it seems like the vast majority of people say that they are the fools here, but I wonder if it would be different if they provided the puppets themselves, because asking for people to spend $150 on puppets minimum just to show up at your wedding is kind of rough, because not everyone is in the same financial position, and it's $150 minimum up to $500. So if you had a family of 4, a wife, husband, and 2 kids, and you all bought the cheapest puppets possible, that would still be $600. The way I see it, that's the only real hang-up for me here. For everyone else that's complaining about the wedding being inconvenient and all that stuff, I mean, it is their one day. This is the one thing they want. So if it wasn't for the financial requirement, I would actually probably be on their side because they are being upfront and saying, hey, this is what we want to do for our wedding. And if people really don't like it, and it's not a financial issue, it's just a lack of enjoyment issue, then at least they know ahead of time not to come, or they can explain to the bride and groom why it is they can't come. Someone pointed out, that's not even counting all the other wedding-related expenses because it's not like the person will be naked or not need shoes or their hair done. Going naked, only using a handle to cover up some special part as a male, would have been some fun. So, if your friends asked you to come to their puppet-required wedding for you and your family of 4, where you would have to spend between $600 and $2,000 for a puppet wedding, what would you do? What would you tell them? And let me know, fool or not a fool, and why. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories in this series, use the playlist at the top of the description. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.